Thank you, and welcome everyone to what will ultimately be two fantastic sessions. The first session is from Victoria Madden from University of Edinburgh, who's going to go through combating always-on culture, which is something that we're all experiencing these days, and digital well-being. So without further ado from me, I'm going to pass over to Victoria.
Thanks so much, Richard, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Vicky, and I'm the Digital Safety Support Officer in the Digital Skills and Training Team at the University of Edinburgh Information Services Group, which is always a mouthful to say. But today, I'll be telling you a little bit more about the university's Digital Safety and Citizenship Initiative in my paper, Combating Always-On Culture, Promoting Digital Wellbeing at the University of Edinburgh. So just to go through a little bit about what we're going to talk about, I'll take you through the project background, its aims, and a couple of definitions as well. And then I'll take a look at the methodology and the resources that we've developed at the University of Edinburgh over the past year. And then I'll look through the key successes and challenges that we faced through this project as well, before ending with a mini roadmap for the future for where I see this project shaping up in the future in the next couple of years. So just to start, I wanted to look at a couple of different definitions of digital well-being, safety, and citizenship, just to make it clear why I'm talking a lot about digital safety and citizenship in a presentation that's ostensibly on digital well-being. What we found at the University of Edinburgh over the last year really is that you can't talk about one of these themes without talking about the other two. Digital well-being, which is the impact of technologies and digital services on people's mental, physical, social, and emotional health, really does depend on knowledge about digital safety, so the ability to stay safe online in the face of wide-ranging digital threats such as online harassment, misinformation, fraud, all of these different types of things, and digital citizenship as well, which is the responsible use of technology to learn, to create, and to participate online. So what we found as well is that these topics have only recently been put into the spotlight as universities across the UK adopt hybrid and blended models of learning and teaching that rely much more on digital technologies than before. So how did the Digital Safety and Citizenship Project really arise at the university? This project really arose in response to students feeling under-supported in terms of managing their digital safety and their digital well-being at the university, which I think you can tell from this kind of rather alarming array of headlines that I've taken from articles just from the last year or so, is a feeling that's shared amongst university students across the UK and not just limited to the University of Edinburgh. So these headlines, to me, I think, highlight the importance of digital safety and how digital well-being is dependent on knowing how to navigate digital threats. So headlines like, I told my university I was harassed online, they asked me what a hashtag was, really signal to me that there is kind of a sector-wide resource gap in terms of how we support our students in managing their digital safety and well-being. And although there's already been some amazing work coming out of organizations like JISC and universities like Suffolk and Bournemouth, who have really robust policies that tackle online harassment and hate crime, for example, we really need to be doing more as UK institutions to prioritize dialogue around digital well-being and online safety. And I think this was highlighted as well in this year's JISC Student Digital Experience Insight Survey, which found that only 41% of student respondents felt informed about staying safe online, and only 33% felt informed about their health and well-being as a technology user, which suggests to me that these concepts really need to be better embedded within university cultures and within the curriculum as well, especially given our new hybrid model of learning and teaching, which, in blurring the line between the professional and the personal and the public and the private, I think really risks creating a culture of being always on if we don't take the time to set our own boundaries, which I think is a really important skill that we want both our staff and our students to develop. I think it's also important at this point to talk about digital well-being and safety, and to acknowledge that people have very different experiences of the internet, and those with protected characteristics are much more likely to be targeted by digital safety threats. So to ensure that our virtual learning environments work for everyone and not just the majority, then we really have to be thinking about digital safety and well-being intersectionally. And everyone really needs to be doing their part in understanding how we can improve digital well-being across higher education in general. So just to summarize, the ultimate aim of the Digital Safety and Citizenship Initiative at the University of Edinburgh really is to foster a safe and inclusive online learning space where all of our users support one another and act with empathy and consideration for our diverse community, while respecting each other's opinions and bandwidth as well, which in this case refers not only to our internet connections, but also I think our mental bandwidth as digital fatigue begins to creep in. So in this way, the initiative really also aligns with the principal themes of our university's broader strategy 2030. So to take you through a little bit about what we've done so far, this project really started even before I took on my post as Digital Safety Support Officer a year ago, last November. Even before I took up my post, people in my team, digital skills and information services were beginning conversations with subject specialists and stakeholders across the university. And so once I took post, I was able to then go back to all of these people, to our Students Association, for example, our information security team, our learning technologists in both the information services group and also our wider schools, and begin kind of one-on-one conversations and start forming a digital safety network, however informal this was. And I'm so thrilled that the next phase of developing this network will be to meet as a formal steering group in January 2021, and talk about digital safety and digital well-being, discuss literature and best practice for how to embed these themes within our university culture, with the goal of eventually influencing some policy and procedural changes to better safeguard our students further along the way. So at the moment, our team is kind of meeting on Microsoft Teams for regular discussion and using this space as an informal forum to kickstart conversations. Another one of our early successes was putting together a digital safety and citizenship web hub. And this is basically 12 pages of information on digital safety, well-being, and citizenship that are continuously being updated and continually evolving. All of these pages are openly licensed and ready to share, and I've linked to our web hub at the end of this presentation, so please do feel free to look through it and use and adapt any of the content there for your own institutions. We've got pages that we developed when we started working from home back in March. Our two newest pages were Staying Safe While Learning and Teaching Online and Digital Safety for New Students. And while this guidance is primarily aimed at students, I think it's also helpful for both new and returning students as well as staff to look at and brush up on as well. In conjunction with the launch of our web hub at the start of February, we also launched a hashtag digital citizen campaign to raise awareness about the responsible use of technology. This campaign was displayed throughout the university. Our message was on all of the open access screens in the computer labs across campus. We had a lot of digital signage, which unfortunately nobody saw once we started working from home. But the message was also disseminated all over social media and throughout school newsletters, in all staff newsletters, all of these different places. Communication really was the key, I think, to getting this message out. And we will be continuing our campaign, I think, in the new year for Safer Internet Day 2021 as well. But when we originally launched in February, our strapline was safeguarding our digital community begins with you, because we really wanted to emphasize that digital safety and digital well-being really depends on everyone in the community to do their part. And when we revamped our campaign and rolled out phase 2 in April, after we had been working from home and studying from home for a little while, our emphasis of this campaign really shifted to digital well-being and to using technology responsibly. So our strapline was it's more important than ever to support one another online, as we were all spending so much time online in our new digital first environment. In addition to our campaign and our web hub, I also very early on started a digital safety and citizenship blog. And this is just where I post kind of regular updates on the project, additional pages on digital safety in the news to increase the visibility of this topic across our institution, and some more resources on managing digital safety and well-being during the COVID-19 pandemic as well, because I think that's especially important right now. So please check this out if you want after this presentation. And over the summer, most of our time was actually spent preparing some start of term activities and student induction activities. We worked really closely with departments across the university to really get the message across that digital well-being and digital safety were going to be super important for our new semester, which was going to be unlike anything that we'd ever really experienced before. So one of the main things we did was we had a main section called Digital Safety and Citizenship in a course. It's a self-paced online course on Learn called Preparing for Study. And this was aimed at new students, and it's going to be adapted into another course called Welcome Back to Study for the new semester in January as well. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what kind of content was in that course in the next slide. But I also wanted to mention that we ran a series of short 30-minute sessions as part of Welcome Week on how to be a good digital citizen and stay safe online. And these were just little bite-sized sessions where students could come in, kind of get a taste of why digital safety and digital well-being were especially important for the new year, and they had a chance to ask questions as well. Digital safety and digital well-being were also highlighted in my team's Making the Most of IT presentations for new students and in the Getting Started guide for new students at Edinburgh as well. So we really wanted this information to be in as many places as possible so that students could find it easily so that they couldn't miss it, which brings me to our digital citizenship guide as well. And I'll talk a little bit more about this after I talk about Prep for Study, but this was designed to complement our university's virtual classroom policy, as well as the Good Citizen Guide to managing health and safety during the pandemic. So first, I wanted to show you a little bit about what was in Prep for Study. So we had 4 sections, one on introduction to digital safety, introduction to digital citizenship, and the last 2 were managing your digital identity and prioritizing your digital well-being. And so I think the last 2 sections were especially important for today's topic. We wanted students to get a sense very early on, even before they started their studies, that creating a positive digital footprint was really, really essential. And managing their digital well-being would be important for all the years to come, not only this year in response to the pandemic. So within these resources, we just had, a bunch of top tips. These were our top tips for how to manage your digital well-being, just to give you a flavor of some of the content that was in the course. And we wanted to make it clear, I think, straight from the get-go, and really, really get students to start thinking about this even before they started classes. From day one, even before they set foot on campus. I think this early pre-arrival information was key to getting our message across and making students think about digital safety and digital well-being. We also created a digital citizenship guide, which, as I said before, was designed to complement the university's virtual classroom policy and the Good Citizen Guide of how to manage health and well-being during the pandemic. So this guide really emphasizes, I think, the university's commitment to equality, diversity, inclusion, and to maintaining safe spaces online. The goal of the guide was to help students understand misconduct and how to stay safe online by highlighting key terminology associated with digital threats and providing brief online etiquette guidance and ensuring that respectful digital communication was the name of the game. And we had various resources at the end of this as well for how to safeguard your digital well-being. And so this is an openly licensed document, which I will link to at the end of this presentation as well. And it's something that I think we're really keen for other institutions to kind of have a look at so that we can share best practice and what we've discovered through this initiative over the last year as well. So I also along with my team, developed several other digital resources to help people manage their digital safety and their digital well-being. And one of these was a new digital safety and citizenship for students webinar, which I run. This webinar tends to be a more in-depth look at digital safety and digital well-being, and I actually tend to draw a lot from popular media, particularly from TV shows with techno-gothic themes. Like, I don't know if any of you have seen Netflix's You or Black Mirror, perhaps a little bit of my old subject matter coming through. But I really wanted to illustrate that a lot of digital threats that I'm introducing to students and staff are so familiar that they've been finding their way into popular fiction for a long time. So these threats and things to watch out for are by no means new to anyone. It's just a matter of getting people to realize that they aren't confined to the things that we're watching on TV. So in the case of Netflix's You, I wanted to use that as an example to show students why it's important to be more vigilant about what we're posting in public forums such as social media, and why we should be thinking a little bit more before we post. We also, along with colleagues across the university, developed an equality, diversity, and inclusion web hub for students, which included themes such as understanding intersectionality and privilege. And one of the main themes running through this web hub is the theme of digital citizenship and why it's important to be thinking about equality and inclusion in online spaces as well as physical spaces, because I think that often gets glossed over because people, for some reason, think of digital spaces as being separate from physical spaces. And we recently developed a staff toolkit for promoting digital well-being as well. And this toolkit Really, the aim of it was to introduce staff to some of the terminology surrounding digital well-being and digital safety, and suggest kind of pedagogical methods for how we can all work together to create more safe and inclusive online spaces, and to ensure that when students disclose to members of staff any kind of uncomfortable online safety or online well-being related issues, that staff know how to respond and that they know what the student is actually talking about, so that we can avoid headlines like um, staff didn't understand what a hashtag was. That our main goal really is to catch everyone up to speed and to create some kind of a baseline knowledge of digital safety. So one of the last pieces of work that we've currently been working on is another self-paced course for staff. And I think the ethos behind this is very much the same as the toolkit. It is really to educate staff and to get everyone up to speed and to create a baseline knowledge of how to manage digital safety and how to manage digital well-being. Because what we've realized really, especially I think, given how many staff have attended my digital citizenship and safety for students webinar, is that staff don't necessarily have a better understanding of these themes either, or how to navigate them. So the goal here really is to create safe and inclusive spaces where everybody has a focus on digital well-being and digital safety, and everybody knows why these themes matter. So just wanted to go over some of the key successes of our initiative over the past year. I'm just looking at the time. I think one of the key things that we did was we developed so many openly licensed resources and guidance. The two web hubs, the Digital Safety and Citizenship Web Hub, as well as the EDI Student Web Hub, and the Digital Citizenship Guide. These are all openly licensed content that other institutions can look at, can adapt, and can reuse. We also created a lot of content on our VLE courses and within our webinars. And I'm hoping really that the number of places in which digital citizenship, digital safety, and digital well-being appear across the university now really highlights the importance of these themes, which I think people are really starting to respond to. I think part of our success in promoting awareness across our university as well really comes from the collaborative nature of this project, which isn't just owned by the digital skills team by any means. It really is a collaborative effort with the Students Association, with other parts of the university, with the schools, with learning technologists, out with the information services. It is a collaborative piece of work in which we really, really want digital well-being and digital citizenship and safety to become embedded within our university culture. And I think communicating with other departments and working together has really helped shape that piece of work. Some of the challenges that we've come across, the initial visibility of the project was a little bit of an issue, but this was really overcome with our collaborative approach across the institution by getting the message out through, through the Students Association, through social media channels, we have a wonderful social media list at the university, and we have wonderful people working in the schools as well that all helped us promote this message of digital safety and digital well-being, especially at this time, and that was something that was really, really cool to see, that collaborative approach. Engaging more students and staff during a time of crisis has also been a bit of a challenge, but my main lesson from this really is that discussions surrounding digital well-being and safety need to be prioritized, and they need to be visible. So they really need to start from senior management, from people that are visible across the university. And so once everyone takes it seriously, these conversations become more normalized, and we can talk about digital well-being and talk about ways in which we can enhance digital well-being. The last challenge really is digital fatigue. And this is something that I think, we can all kind of understand coming to the end of a very, very long and very stressful year. And it comes back to combating always on culture as well. Since we're all spending so much time in front of our screens, engaging with such a range of digital technologies, I think it becomes really, really important that both staff and students set their own boundaries and that we respect each other's time and attention as well. So within our team, what this has meant is really creating guidance that is short, snappy, and succinct, and making our webinars shorter in order for us to respect everybody's time and attention and get our message across without worrying people, without tiring people out more than they're already tired. So just to end, I know I've got 1 minute left, I think. Some of my lessons learned really is that it takes a village. So to create a culture that values digital well-being and digital safety, it really an institution has to take an approach that is both top-down and bottom-up, and everybody in the community really needs to be doing their part. I think this is especially key if we're going to enact policy changes to safeguard students. We've also found that an intersectional approach is really key in any kind of discussion on digital well-being. We have to acknowledge that people have very different experiences while engaging with digital technologies and online spaces. And in order to ensure that we're safeguarding the digital well-being of our entire community, we have to understand how experiences differ. I think what we really want to see going forward is more of an embedding of digital well-being and safety into the curriculum, and instigating an institutional shift is so hard. And I think it requires more than just interdepartmental collaboration. We should be normalizing conversations centering on digital well-being and safety and embedding this knowledge within our curriculum. So regardless of what people are studying, the digital format that so much learning and teaching has adopted really should dictate that when you come to class, you should be discussing how to keep each other safe online and how to manage things like digital overload and fatigue. So I think we've all realized that, there's a long way to go in terms of embedding this within our culture, but I'm so glad to see that conversations are happening. And I'm so glad that, today is really more about sharing best practice. So I just wanted to end, I know I'm a little bit over time, really quickly with a tiny roadmap for the future. But what I would like to see happen from now on is I would like to grow our digital safety network even further. I would like it to move beyond the steering group. I would love to see student champions and engaging the student association a little bit more. I think this, requires everybody to be on board, and I think getting students to buy into this project is especially key. I would love to run more events and training as well. We had such a load of stuff planned before the outbreak, including workshops with the Empower Project, which is a local organization in Edinburgh that tackles gender-based violence online. And I think that's something that we really want to resume in addition to all our current offerings online. We want to raise awareness across campus, especially about equality, diversity, and inclusion, and how these issues affect digital spaces. And we really want to share resources and best practice and what we've learned beyond the university, which is why I would love to just end by signposting to a couple of resources that we've developed here at the University of Edinburgh: our web hub, our digital citizen guide, and our blog and Instagram and Twitter accounts, just so that you can have a look at the things that we've been doing at the university, and so that we can continue these conversations beyond today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vicky. That was fantastic. I think we've got a few questions coming through in the chat. The one from Jen Turner was how can we move this up as a sector? So it's more of a sector, a wide approach to develop. Any thoughts on that?
I think to move forward as a sector, like I'm seeing these conversations happening at UK institutions. I'm seeing it happening at all the conferences that I've had the pleasure of attending over the last year. I think digital well-being and digital safety are things that are becoming spotlighted more, and I think whenever we're at conferences and we work together, like at ALT, for example, we can open up dialogues and see, and share best practice. Because I think at the moment, what's missing is really a set of best practice, because it's such a new topic. So what we do and how we can better embed these things within our university cultures, I think really is down to conversations happening like today, happening after this this conversation. It depends on people, looking at the resources that are already available. So like all the things that we have under open license, those are things that are there for people to adapt and reuse. And I'm hoping that, that gets the conversation started, and it starts this process of all the institutions across the UK buying into this and taking it seriously. I hope that kind of answers your question, but but I would love to talk more about that.
Thanks, Vicky. We've probably got time for one more question. It's from Alex Spears. You mentioned embedding safety approaches into the curriculum. Does this include the procurement, use, and adoption of institutional technologies that support learning?
That's a really, really good question. I think yes. The short answer is yes. But I think the operative word that I think is inclusion, and I think this was something that we talked about earlier in the plenary. Actually, is so many people have already identified the need for learning technology and the technologies that we adopt to have an awareness, I think, about digital safety and online safety and digital well-being, and how the technologies that we adopt are influencing the users. So I think inclusion is the word that always comes to my mind, and making sure that our technologies are as inclusive as possible, and then don't inadvertently disadvantage certain groups, because we already know that different groups experience the internet very, very differently. So I think, the curriculum-wide approach not only requires everybody to be on board, so teaching staff, professional services staff, but it also requires the technology to be on board as well. So I think being more selective and talking about the best technologies that really suit the topic and that, enhance digital well-being rather than hinder is really important as well.
Thanks, Vicky. Can I just ask everybody to give Vicky a virtual round of applause at this point? Thank you very much. It was fantastic. There's been a lot of requests for the resources, so they're in the chat box, they're on the screen, and I'm sure Vicky will be quite open to taking this conversation further offline if anybody